Hello everyone. If you know me, you know how much I love scheduling time of day mining. So far I've done it with Emporia smart plugs, I've done it with Wake Alarm in the actual HiveOS command shell, and I've done it a little more ghetto with Windows Scheduler. But today I'm going to be going over how to use one of these potentially insanely cheap enterprise APC PDUs from about 15 years ago to schedule your rigs. So I picked up both of these for $25 a piece. These are 30 amp PDUs, 24 outlets a piece. They're not in perfect shape, but they both work. And you can see right in the middle, they have Ethernet ports. At first I thought, boy, those have to be so antiquated, there's no way in hell we can get that working. But lo and behold, with some dicking around, we got it running. So I'm going to go over the entire process of what I did to get this working. Proceed at your own risk if you have one of these. If you do factory reset it and you get it wrong, all of your outlets will be off, and there's nothing you can really do about that. So again, proceed at your own risk. I'm just going to show you what I did because I think it's kind of cool. All of these outlets are individually controllable, but in order to actually get access to it, we need to factory reset it and get everything working for Ethernet, and that's not straightforward, even though there's a little reset nub right there. So first thing I'm going to do is close out of this, disconnect the PDU I already have working, and then I will show you exactly what I had to do to get this working. It is worth noting you need one of these RS-232 adapter cables, RJ12. I'll link the exact one I'm using right here down in the description. Pardon me, it works just fine. Not great, but it works fine. You will also need some Ubuntu release for this. You can use Windows, you can use Mac, but I highly recommend Ubuntu just for the sake of doing it right. I will say if you're already a miner and you're watching my video, I'm going to actually use HiveOS. So just go ahead and plug it into a rig and then Hive shell into it, or plug in a monitor, a keyboard, and a mouse to it and hook the console cable up to your PDU. But I digress. Let me unhook the other one and let's get the other one plugged in here, and I'll show you exactly what I did to get it working. Worth noting, these things boot up extremely slowly, so go ahead and plug it in and just wait like 5 minutes. It might boot quicker, quicker than that, but hopefully you don't have too much schmoo in your port. This one looks dirty, but looks okay. And go ahead and hook in your console cable. The green light's actually a good sign, but I'm going to wait until these actually turn green and we get some display on the main 7-segment display here. Alright, first thing we're going to do is hop into the Linux instance and then go sudo su, make sure we're root. If you're doing on Hive, you're already actually in sudo su, which is kind of nice if you're on the physical machine. Next up, we're going to go dmesg and then pipe, which is the vertical little guy right there, and then space less, enter. And all you have to do here is scroll down and you're looking for a USB entry near the bottom, which is tty lowercase USB all caps, and then probably 0. If you're using the same cable and you only have one thing connected to it, it's probably going to be that. What that is the USB device register ID for the actual serial converter, and that's important because it's what we're going to actually use to communicate with the PDU via Linux. And let me find it and I'll just show it to you. And there we have it, I just saw it. USB serial support, CP210X converter detected, TTY USB 0. So take note of that. All you have to do now, I believe, is hit Control C, no, K, Q? Q is the one to get out of this one. After you've done Q, let's go ahead and do apt-get space, which I already did, apt-get install apt-get install screen, enter. I've already done this, so it should find it. After you've installed screen, let's just make sure that it's good. So yum, actually no, that we don't have to do that. That's for if you're running a Red Hat based Linux, I believe you do yum install screen. But if you're using Hive or Ubuntu, the command we just did should be good. So now what we're going to do to actually get into the device, again, make sure it's physically hooked up, and you can see it is booted here now. You can tell all the outlets are on, so it has been configured at some point. What we're going to do now is screen space /dev /ttyUSB 0. And I believe case is important. So if you have a different device ID for your serial converter, you will need to change it to that. What we're going to do here is enter, and then we should now get a new screen to pop up in an ideal world. There we go. All right, so now just hit enter a few times, and you can see we are indeed communicating with it. This response right here, the username is actually coming from the PDU. So now what we need to do is over on the PDU. We need to physically reset it. So this process is a little bit annoying, but press for 12 seconds. I'll do it with your real time. Then release, and then click once, and then release again. And now we're gonna wait for just a little bit. I would say let's give it 30 seconds, and then let's hop back over to the computer and start spamming until we get a response again. So I've only waited like 2 or 3 seconds. You can see that we're not actually getting a response yet. Just keep very slowly hitting the enter key. Oh, there we go. Now we're gonna hit APC enter, APC enter. And now you can see we are actually talking to the PDU, which is great. So now that we're in via essentially what amounts to telnet, we're going to go through and we're going to go into system, and we're going to go user management. Oh, it's not responding. There we go. User management, administration. So we go APC enter, APC enter, APC enter, enter, enter. So now we've changed the username to APC and the password to APC, which will only work in the telnet instance, will not work in the GUI. Now what we're going to do is hit 4 to accept changes, enter, escape, escape, 4 again, which is going to kick us out of the system here. And all we have to do is wait for the PDU to reboot. So right now, the microcontroller inside is not showing us that it's doing anything, but it is actually rebooting, and I'm actually going to kill this instance by Control-A-D. So hold Control and then hit A and then D, and I'm going to hit the up arrow to start this over again. Now we're back into screen. I'm going to slowly start hitting enter again and wait for it to boot. So now we see username here. It's a little unclean, and this whole step I've actually had issues with. The dialogue is a little bit messed up. The first time you get into it right after you reset it, everything is good. So what I'm going to do, APC enter, APC enter. We're actually going to do this blind. And we're going to go 3, enter, 4, enter, 2, enter, and then capital YES, enter. And then we're going to wait a second. It should be resetting. Okay, now that is good. I'm going to hit escape, escape, 4, enter. All right, so now it is rebooting again, and we're going to need a either Linux computer that's connected to the exact same subnet as the Ethernet switch that you are going to connect to the PDU with, or you can use a separate machine. I'm going to use my MacBook Air for this next step, but we have to hook this into Ethernet now. So I have to move this PDU up to actually connect it because my cord is short. But next step is we're actually going to hook this PDU up to Ethernet. Okay, so I already have this queued up, but what we're going to be doing is sudo space su enter, which that just means sudo is system something or other do. Well, it doesn't matter. And then super user, it just gives you root permission to actually affect commands. Once you've done that, hit enter and password authenticated, you will get a root bash shell in Linux or Mac. Now what you're going to do is type ARP space -s space, and then the local LAN IP address you want to give this thing, and then a space, and then the MAC address, which you will find on the back of your PDU on a white sticker, and then go ahead and hit enter. And that's actually a great sign if you see that. And then the next thing we're going to be doing, and again, this is Mac and Linux only. There is a command you can use on PC, but it's a little bit different. We're going to be doing ping, and then the IP address that we just keyed in. So that's the address that we want to give it. Sorry, I'm videoing and record whatever at the same time. And then -s, and then 113. So this is going to be sending a TCP or a UDP packet with a specific payload to the PDU. And once we do that, the PDU should register with the new IP address, and it did not, and I don't know why. Dang it. Let me figure out what I did wrong, and I'll tell you. Okay, so here's what I did. You'll notice we have a solid green light finally. I reset it again with the paperclip after our video with no Ethernet connected and not doing anything with the console. I let it fully boot, so it was flashing orange, and then I let it get past its default, where, you know, the default password's reset, to when it went back and reverted its configuration. And now, lo and behold, we are in. So this is what the web interface looks like. We do have to do a few things. It's worth noting that the, let's see here, administration, we have to find network. So manually, you're going to go ahead and configure this. You can see that actually everything is correct. Never mind. Normally this is wrong. When you set one of these things up, it usually has a -8 subnet, 255.0.0.0, and then it's got its own IP address as the gateway as well. So anyway, that's kind of cool. I usually will come in here and set the clock as well. So I'll manually come in here and set this. This one's actually already set, which is tremendous. I'm not sure why that's the case. It's probably just because I set up a PDU just a few minutes ago, and it's probably just taking my my config from that. But it is possible that this PDU was set up more recently by somebody else, and it just grabbed all of that stuff to begin with. So anyway, yeah, you can see all the outlets here. Where are we? Outlet manager. Sorry, I haven't actually played around with these much yet. Outlet status. So you can see that they're all on right now. How do I do this? Control, here we go. So if I want to shut these all off, I can do off immediate, all outlets. And you can see that they all shut off. But if I want to turn on just outlet 9, shall we say, I can come over here and do on immediate. And I can click outlet 9, hit apply, and there we go. So what I've been using these for, and I'll go ahead and turn these all on, so you can hear all the relays going. What I've been using these for is actually scheduled. So what I'll do is, and unfortunately you can't configure this for weekends separately as far as I know, we can go into daily action, and you can just do, for me it's a 9p on, and what we'll do is we'll go to 2100 all outlets on immediate, apply, and then we can come in here, we can do another daily action, and we can do a 9a off, we can do off immediate, and we can set this to 0900 all outlets. What I'm probably going to end up doing for these is, since some of my devices do have functioning wake alarm, I'm only going to have half of each one of these banks for time of day. So I'll do like outlets 9 through 16 as time of day. So these will shut off at 9 and turn on at 9, whereas the end of that bank will just be on all the time. And then the same thing here. I'll have this bank on time of day. Oh, actually, there's only 3. But you get the point. I'm going to leave some of these on all the time, just make it a little bit easier to deal with. But anyway, the configuration you watched in the first part of the video is exactly what I did to get this working. And I've since stopped booting off of a flash drive, and the actual serial console information that we're getting is much clearer now. So the cable I think is good, and running it on like a dedicated Linux machine is fantastic. But I will say the Mac OS platform is great, because typically these are SSL. Actually, no, this is regular old HTTP, so this should work on any browser. But yeah, no, it works. It works great. And I mean, these are super cheap PDUs, and the whole thing does current monitoring. So I'm really excited to put one of these in service and kind of take a look at everything and see exactly what we can see. I'll do a follow-up video on these as well once I've had a little more time to work through them, find any interesting features, see if I can find a way to get them to stay on all weekend. But yeah, no, I thought this was worth sharing. It's pretty cool. So there is my really cheap APC managed PDU, and how to factory reset it and set it up with local Ethernet management. Hopefully that was at least mildly interesting. Either way, thanks for watching, guys.